Welcome to Inside Builder channel. How to use Power BI with Python on Linux. Install Tiny Windows 11 on Virtualbox. Why Virtualboxes or VBoxes? First and foremost, you don't need to reboot to access Power BI. I will show you what I mean. I'm just going to click on this particular icon here, which is Oracle VirtualBox, and you see I have a Windows interface. I can double click on Power BI desktop and the desktop will open up. The Power BI desktop will open up inside Windows. Next, heavy load ETL with Python can be done inside Linux, and the visual finesse that you want to create with your dashboard can be done inside the VirtualBox. So you can see that I am moving between two different operating systems as if it is in the same setup. This is one of the key aspects that I want to highlight in this discussion. Minimize RAM and processor requirement with tiny Windows 11. The Windows 11 that I am talking about will not actually have all the applications that comes with regular Windows. It will have only very specific applications which is required for your day-to-day activity. This is a stripped down Windows 11, and again, this is not a standard or the official Windows 11. This Windows 11 has been provided by a different developer on an open source basis. Keep this in mind. Continuing, cross-platform compatibility between Windows and Linux. You can seamlessly work with two different operating systems and work on different applications at the same time. You are having access to Power BI, and at the same time you have access to the Linux kernel that you can use for various other activities. So here you can see that I am running on a Ubuntu 6.80 kernel, and I am able to work on both of the options together. That is Windows as well as Linux. Sandbox environment is a very important requirement going forward, not just for Power BI related activities, but as a whole for AI related tool workflows also, you will need a sandbox environment, and VirtualBox provides a very good and a stable interface. I'll be discussing about this video in my channel. You can take a look at that. I discuss on a lot of AI related workflows, agentic IDEs, etc. And one of the important workflow is to have the computer work for you through the AI, and that requires VirtualBox. Anyway, that's a story for a different day. Now we have told why VirtualBox. Okay, so what are we building today? So we are going to install VirtualBox in Fedora or Ubuntu. Okay, I'll be walking you through the Ubuntu installation because my current operating system that I am showing this video is based on Ubuntu. I will not be going through the entire installation process as the installation process is already completed. However, I'll be providing you the necessary commands as well as the challenges you will face and how to recover from it. Second, getting access to tiny non-activated Windows 11. Again, it's non-activated Windows 11 and it's not the official version. Python ETL developed and tested in Linux and moved to Windows Power BI workflow. We'll be seeing this. This is the main requirement of our building. So we want a Python ETL that actually moves from Linux to Windows seamlessly. Now comes the installation process in VirtualBox. In order to start the installation process in your VirtualBox installation process in Ubuntu or in Fedora, you have to first of all get the GPG keys and register them in your installation application. In case of Ubuntu, it is apt. In case of Fedora, it is DNF. I'll be following the apt route here. You need to register this particular ASC key, especially VBox _ 2016. There are two ASC keys. One is VBox alone without the 2016 and the another with 2016. You have to use the 2016.asc only this is one of the major reasons why your VirtualBox may not install properly. So install it with VBox 2016. And after that, add the repository, download VirtualBox Debian focal contrib. So you need to add this to your VirtualBox, to your Linux apt lists, sources lists. You can see that here. You need to add it here. You need to just run these commands. I will be giving you these commands in the description. After that, you have to do a sudo apt update. That will update the sources list. So if I run sudo apt update right now, you will see that my sources lists are updated, and it will actually have the VirtualBox. You see it is trying to connect to download VirtualBox, and if the ASC key is not available, you will actually get an error. So here you can see that contrib binary i386 is not supported. So this is not a problem. At the end of the day, my machine is not i386 minus x86, so it's not supporting. But you can see that in this location, the focal in release is getting registered. So this is very, very important. After that, you can go ahead and install using the Linux headers. Why these Linux headers are required? What happens is when your VirtualBox is installed, the VirtualBox 1.1 is installed, there are some kernel related modules that needs to be loaded. And in order to load these kernel related modules, the Linux headers are required. Usually in the VirtualBox installation instruction, they don't talk to you about this. They don't tell to install Linux headers. So do install it, okay? And then go for installation process of VirtualBox 7.1. Also, ensure that you have enabled virtualization in your BIOS. This is one of the important steps that you might actually miss. Ensure you go into the BIOS, go into your advanced mode, or go into your processor area, or in case if you are using MSI, then go into overclocking area in your advanced tab. So you need to go into advanced for enabling virtualization. It will not be available in standard. Once that is done, your VirtualBox should be able to power up, and you should be able to install any of the operating systems that you want, right? The point you might actually get stuck is that you might get the error, the kernel is unsigned. If that error comes up, you need to sign your kernel modules. So in order to sign the kernel modules, there are a couple of options you can use. And for that, you can go to this blog, how to sign things on secure boot, or you can actually go to this GitHub repo also. Both of these resources will be a very important resource for you to get the VirtualBox working. You might actually be an IT developer, you could be a data analyst or a data engineer, you could actually be working on AI related models. All of these things requires Linux. Linux is super light, super versatile and flexible. Windows has its own benefits. I don't deny about that, but the workflow in Linux is way more smoother, and you can automate a lot of stuff. Believe me, when I say you can automate a lot of steps, including opening your folder, changing how you work with Python, how you work with Rust, it becomes super easy. And it's very lightweight because a lot of things is under your control, right? So Linux has its own power and Windows has its own power, but some people are comfortable with Windows and you are comfortable with Linux, then you need VirtualBox. Okay, again, the VirtualBox is one of the options, and I'm giving you the procedure to install VirtualBox. But there are other applications like QEMU, that is QEMU, or you can actually use the boxes application that comes in GNOME in Linux. You can do that also. I tried both. I have tried VirtualBox 7.1 and I have tried boxes. One of the challenges I faced with boxes is that the network connection between both the host and the guest becomes a challenge. I'll be explaining to you why in the next step. So what we're going to do is we are going to have two operating systems, right? The green one is Ubuntu and the blue one is Windows. The blue one is the guest operating system, which has the PowerBI for visuals. The green one is the host operating system, which has the Python coding, and this is all interfaced with the help of Oracle VirtualBox. And a huge shout out for Oracle VirtualBox for sharing this particular application. It's one of the phenomenal applications that you can have. Now, the point is there is going to be an API applications or an app that you're going to run inside your host machine. And this host machine has to communicate with your guest machine. And in order to do that, you need to have the necessary network adapters already set. So if you come into your VirtualBox setup, and if you go into your network adapters, you can see it is attached to a network address translator or translation device, which means that your VirtualBox guest operating system can directly connect to the internet without any challenge. So that is one of the benefits. But the downside is that the guest OS, the Windows OS, can connect to the host OS, all the ports in the host OS. However, the host OS cannot connect back to the guest OS. So keep this in mind. In network address translation, you cannot make the host to talk with the guest, but the guest can talk with the host. Okay, this is one of the downsides of using NAT, right? I'm not talking about downside of using the VirtualBox, okay? But when it comes to boxes, even this becomes a problem. So setting up the network address translator in boxes requires additional steps like installing virtual managers and working a little more deeper with the virtual devices. So which can be complicated. At the end of the day, the workflow has to be smooth and easy for everybody. So that is one of the major reasons why I chose VirtualBox. Right. Now we have seen the overall setup. So we have seen the benefits of VirtualBox. We are see what we are going to build, how to install it, what are the challenges we will face. And next, we have also seen the overall architecture that we are going to build. Now, where is the application? Where is the app? And how are we going to get the Power BI visuals working? But before doing that, we need to get the Windows installed, right? That is one of the important things, because without the guest operating system, you cannot do anything, correct? So for doing that, you have to visit the link will be shared with you guys. It is archive.org. It is available. It's actually in archive right now. So this is old. This is old information. This is not new. So there are already videos that has covered the Tiny11, and this Tiny11 is having an ISO of 3.5 GB, and you can download it in no time. After that, you can use that to install in your VirtualBox. Keep one thing in mind: when you're installing in VirtualBox, the Tiny11 is meant only for VirtualBox. Yeah, you can actually install it on as your host OS itself on your own risk. Okay, and it is not official Windows 11 distribution. This is distributed by someone called as NTDev on an open source basis. Okay, so do read out all these things before you go ahead. The only reason why I'm using the VirtualBox Windows Tiny11 is to have a very streamlined process or workflow between someone who is using Linux for their day-to-day activities, who loves Linux, and also who wants to work on Windows because they have to interact with certain applications that involve Windows applications, right? Like Power BI. You can try other options. I have tried it. Power BI does not work with Wine. It does not work with any of the other the emulators that is out there, because it has lots of other dependencies which doesn't work in Linux directly. So you need a Windows kernel to run Power BI visuals. You can't escape this. Okay, so accept that, and then you can accordingly work on this. When it comes to installing Tiny11, it's a very straightforward process. You have to just create a new virtual machine, and you have to connect the ISO that is provided to you once you download it from this this particular website. And after that, you have to just proceed with the installation, because and yeah, you need at least minimum 40 GB of hard disk space. It's not going to use all of those 40 GB immediately, but yeah, give at least 40 GB. That's very important. And 8 GB of RAM is important. Give at least 2 processors to the Windows 11. Again, this Windows 11 doesn't need 8 GB. It can work at far lesser task RAM also. So if you go to the 1 minute, let me actually check how's the let me actually send it keyboard input, Control Alt Delete, and let us go to the task manager. And you can see the task manager is currently using 50% of the memory. That is 4 GB of memory. So you can actually give it 4 GB of memory and it will still work without any issues. Okay, I've already opened PowerBI desktop and it is consuming around 50% of the memory. That means that you can work on a 4 GB machine without much of an issue, right? But again, having another additional 2 to 3 GB or 2 to 4 GB is very good. Okay, so that's why I am giving this. And also, even in case of the CPU, I have a very high performance CPU at the back end, and that's why it's able to do it this fast. You might have an i3 processor also, even then it will work. I have tried Virtualbox with Tiny11 on a i3 laptop also, which has a regular hard disk. So overall, I should say that this is one of the good experience that you guys can enjoy. Well, now it's all fine. Now we need to work on the actual building that you are working on, correct? We need to have a Python code that is built on Linux, and we need to use that Python code to again work on something that is inside Windows. So what are we going to do? So let us dive into that. Let us get into the code. So before I go into the code, I have to show you where the code is. So the code is present in the GitHub repo, which you can use to, you can clone and you can start working on that directly. So it's in Cursor projects. The link will be shared with you guys. If you go to data API _ PBI, you will see that there is a Flask app, okay, and there is a request data.py, which will be used in Windows. So we are going to build two things. We are going to build a request script that is going to work inside Windows. Okay, I'll be explaining what is this request script doing. And we are going to build a Flask app, which is going to work inside the Linux environment. Let us now show the demo of what's happening. You can see that I am giving an alias here. And it is changing the folder, and I'm going into Cursor projects. You can, and m5 data API. I'm going to run the Flask app. You can see that I'm using UV. UV is one of the packages in Python that is literally changing how you work with varieties of Python environment without the hassle of activating, deactivating the virtual environment. It is super fast and it makes your workflow very, very streamlined. You can see that I don't need to start any of the deactivation or activation. The server is up and running right now. So if I click on this, you will see that the server is giving me a bar chart, right? I have created a server in such a way that it can give me both the API output of the data. You can see the API output, and at the /root endpoint, you see that it is giving me a HTML plotly chart. So both of these things are possible. Now the server is ready inside Linux, right? And I need to connect with this particular IP address, okay, from Windows. So for that, I'll be using this request _ data.py. Here you can see that I'm using 127.0.0.1. So you need to change this address to refer to this address. So keep this in mind. You need to change this when you are going to use this script in your environment. Let us now go to the Windows environment. I'm in the Windows environment, and here I'm going to get into the documents folder. In the documents folder, you can create a new notepad script where you can update the code. So I can actually go for new, and I can say text document, and you can see that with Tiny11 is very much streamlined, that it doesn't have any additional applications. There are very minimal number of applications, and that's the reason why your RAM is not consuming that much. So keep that in mind. I'm going to use get data. And ensure that you change the extension to py. believe that you guys know how to get the extensions to change. So yeah, here there is a problem. I can change the name again. Well, we have the file and we are going to open it with Notepad. We don't have still the applications, right? So you can go here and you are going to copy all this, and you are going to copy only up to the data frame. Because if you review my older videos on Power BI, you will see that Power BI only reads the data frame. It doesn't require the actual data like this in the chart form. It just needs a data frame. Okay, so I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it here. And after pasting it, I'm going to save it. And once it is saved, I can actually test it. Okay, the most important thing is you have to test the applications before you push it to the Power BI, right? So let us go back here. Let me copy this, and you can see that I'm copy pasting it also between the operating systems. And this is how happening because I have already enabled the VirtualBox additions, and I have also gone to the devices and I have enabled the shared clipboard, and I have also enabled the drag and drop. So these things gets enabled once you insert the guest addition CD image and you do the installation of that. So here the guest addition CD image is there. You can just click on this AMD 64 and you will be able to get all this benefit that you are seeing. This guest additions is actually available. You don't need to search for it. You have to just go to VirtualBox website and you'll be able to get it. Fine. So now we have the Python script, and next what you're going to do is we are going to test it before we go to this guy, Power BI, right? So in order to test it, I'm going to go into documents, and Python is already installed. Just a minute, let me change my, yeah, now I think it will be better. You can see 3.11.9 is installed, and if I do a dir right now, you'll see that I have getapi.py. That is the file that I created a moment ago. So if you go to the documents, you'll see that getapi.py, and if I go back, if I execute Python right now, getapi.py, you'll see it connects with the, yeah, you can go here also, and you can see that here the link has to come up, and once the link comes up here, there will be a log that gets enabled here, and if you go back to the Windows, you will actually see that. So here you can see sometimes you will get this kind of a error. So it is saying the host 1270.0.1 port is creating a problem. So why is this error happening? So most probably I have not updated the applications properly. So after this, I need to save it. So you can see that it's not saved. So I have to just click on save, and you can see that it is saved right now. Okay. And now if I go here and if I execute this time it will properly communicate. So you can, oh, just a minute. So it's connecting with port 80, which is again wrong, which is a typo again. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, let me check it. Yeah, now I think it is good. So let me do that. And you can see that it is not printing out anything. Why? Because I did not ask it to print the data frame, right? So I can go here, I can say print df. So that will print the data frame right now. So now you can see that it is printing the data frame. And if I go back to my Linux environment, you can see that it has actually done a GET request to the API. This is how you actually make two things work. So you're working in Windows environment, you are connecting with an API that is running inside the Linux environment, and the API has the Python code, right? So it's a very simple setup that I have created. I know this is not very high performing ETL that you guys were expecting, but it's some couple of lines of code away. If you want to connect with the database inside Linux, do a pull on the database and do an API request, yeah, you can build a lot of stuff. The point now I want to make is how to use the script to load the data into Power BI, because I'm connecting to an API, correct? So I need to get the data and push it into the Power BI. So for that, now I need to take this again. I need to copy all this. So in order for these things to work, ensure that in your Windows you have already installed the necessary libraries, including pandas, matplotlib. Let me zoom in a bit. Yeah, matplotlib, pandas, matplotlib, plotly, kaleido, requests. So all these libraries, you need to have it installed. If not, when you are trying to import the Python script into Power BI, it will actually throw an error. Let's go back, and now in the Power BI, go to you can open a new blank report. Okay, and once you open a new blank report, you can click on get another source, and you can go to other, you can go to Python script, and you can connect. And once you connect, the Python script window will open up, you can paste. So once you paste it here, this script has already been tested, right? And we are going to get this data frame, and the DF data frame will be available for us. So let us click on OK. It will take a moment and it will establish the connection. And you can see that here the call has gone. You can see that the call came up. And if you go here, you can see the data frame is in. You see that here. So once you load it, the data frame will be available in your data area. How easy it is. Now, all of these things, I am actually doing it between Linux and Windows seamlessly. And you can see that I am, not rebooting, or I am not going to dual boot. It's a pretty straightforward process that you can do inside Ubuntu. You can do it inside Fedora. I'm using another one machine with Fedora where I do the same thing. And yeah, I'll be making a couple of more videos on this theme where I am controlling the VirtualBox through Python script from Linux environment. So that is another one application that I'll be working upon. So yeah, we have seen the entire process right now. So let me go back again, and you can see the data is available here. Right, you can see the category, you can see the product ID, you can see all of these things available, and you can start creating applications, and you can start creating the same kind of visual that you see here. The same kind of visual, you can create it in Power BI. It's just some clicks away, right? So now let us go back to the presentation. Again, keep this in mind, Windows Tiny 11 is not official distribution. Use it on your own risk if you're going to load this on your machine directly. So if you're going to use it in VirtualBox, it's well and good. Yeah, there also the risk is minimized because it's going to be a sandbox environment, right? It's going to be a sandbox environment, and it provides a lot of security and reliability. So we have seen how the installation process for VirtualBox in Ubuntu has to be taken up. You can use a similar kind of a installation process for Fedora also. There will be a little bit additional steps you need to do it, but yeah, it is still possible. I've already tested it, and if you guys need any guidance, do let me know in the comment section. And we saw what we are building, and we actually reviewed the applications, the Flask app, as well as how it is imported in your Power BI. And next, we spoke about why we are using VirtualBoxes, and then we discussed on the starting of the video. So I believe that this video has been useful to you guys, and do subscribe to my channels and start working on building stuff that you can integrate, that is available in Linux, and you can move it to Windows seamlessly, and start exploring and start practicing. See you guys.